Thank you, gentleman from Louisiana. Madam Speaker, it's been more than 30 years since Congress passed meaningful tax reform. In those 3 decades, we have seen unbelievable progress in technology, communications, manufacturing, and so much more. I'm thrilled we now have a chance to pass meaningful tax reform, an opportunity to finally move to a tax code that works for families, small businesses, and Americans across the board. We have a once-in-a-generation chance to bolster middle-class prosperity, strengthen our economy, and help America's global competitiveness. These are not just abstract concepts. These are real people, families, businesses, and workers. Over this past year, I've traveled through the 35 counties that I represent, and I've been so impressed by the countless Kentuckians who are working to bring jobs of the future into rural America. Unlike these innovative entrepreneurs, our tax code is unfortunately stuck in the past. Like many of my constituents in the 1st District, I run a family farm and have experienced the challenges of dealing with an outdated and cumbersome tax code. I know firsthand the difficulties small businesses face when they try to operate, grow, and hire more workers while battling a tax code that does not work for them. Passing tax reform is finally within reach, and I enthusiastically support swift passage of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Throughout our nation's history, small businesses have served as the backbone of our communities. These companies provide high-quality jobs, contribute to their local communities, and invest money right here at home. That is why I'm dedicated to enacting tax relief that allows American small business owners to keep more of their hard-earned tax dollars, to grow their businesses, and to compete globally. This bill will create almost 13,000 new jobs in the Commonwealth of Kentucky and will raise after-tax income for middle-class families by almost $2,000. More than 59,000 taxpayers in the 1st District itemize their taxes. And because of the near doubling of the standard deduction and other simplifications, many of our taxpayers will have much simpler returns. And for our nation, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act will generate economic growth adequate to increase federal tax receipts by $1 trillion. In the 1st District of Kentucky, there are nearly 44,000 taxpayers who earn small business income. Under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, small business owners will benefit from the new lower 9% tax rate on the first $75,000 of their business income for owners earning less than $150,000. Families and small businesses will have more opportunities to succeed with this framework. Additionally, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act reduces the number of deductions and credits aimed at special interest and other well-connected groups, which will create a simpler, more level playing field for American taxpayers. Getting rid of these special privileges in the tax code will ensure that all Americans, not just those who can afford their own tax preparers, get to keep more of their own money. President Trump, my colleagues in Congress, and I have promised to deliver tax reform in a big way. I'm proud to be keeping this promise now. My constituents deserve a system that enables them to keep more of their hard-earned money and spend less of their time dealing with our overly complicated tax code. I think it's important to address a concern that I have heard throughout the tax reform debate, one that I take very seriously: our national debt, which currently tops $20 trillion and is growing every day. The debt is a serious problem that poses an impediment to growth, a burden on our future, and a threat to our national security. While I'm glad to finally hear bipartisan interest in addressing this challenge and getting the deficit under control, I think it's clear that any solution must include reducing government spending, particularly on mandatory programs that are the major drivers of our debt. I look forward to continuing to work towards this goal. The last time we addressed our tax code was when President Reagan was in office. Sticking with the tax code we have had for decades, one that leaves U.S. businesses and workers behind, is not an option. Now, I have high hopes for the future with this tax reform framework. I will continue fighting for reform that will benefit Kentuckians and our nation as a whole. And I look forward to supporting pro-growth solutions that have proven to benefit our nation and our citizens. Thank you, and I yield back to the gentleman from Louisiana.